Hey, you're watching Wired Up Retro. It's episode number 56, and today we're going to be playing a little bit of this handheld game made by Jakks Pacific called Star Wars: The Clone Wars Republic Squadron. This is basically a handheld controller that just directly connects to the AV port of your TV. And let's go ahead and just show you a little bit about the game here. So this controller, as you know, I'm a fan of Star Wars the arcade game, which came out in 1983, made by Atari for the arcades. And then it was subsequently released on many different consoles. And you know, back those days, you played with a joystick at home, and you know, the game was fun. But it was never quite the experience that we had in the arcades, where we were actually gripping onto a flight yoke and twisting it this way and this way, forward and back, just like you know you're in an actual fighter cockpit. So what's nice about this controller is that it offers you that kind of flight control. And I'm going to show you a little bit about the game here. Turn this up a little bit. All right. So it's very reminiscent of the way you controlled the Star Wars arcade game, as you can see, except I've got some homing missiles, which isn't really Star Wars, but maybe it's Clone Wars. There you go. So it is really an on-rails shooter. And if you think about it, you know, some of that Star Wars arcade game is kind of an on-rails shooter. Now back a couple years ago on Wired Up Retro episode number 21, I showed ways to play Star Wars the arcade game with a similar flight yoke setup to this. And the GameCube game, which is called Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3, has within it Star Wars the arcade game, as well as the sequel, Empire Strikes Back, which is also a vector graphics game from the mid-'80s. So these awesome games can be played on your GameCube. Unfortunately, using a thumbstick to play those kind of games is really not great. So you want to have something like this to play the game with, a flight yoke. And so in today's episode, I'm going to show you a very easy way to use a flight yoke control on those 2 or 3 titles. Actually, it's 2 titles on the GameCube. And I will just be using a simple adapter and also an accessory that goes into the port of one of the controllers. So I'll be showing that, how to do it here in a couple of minutes. So yeah, this is the Clone Wars controller, the motion controller. Very nice. And on my episode of Wired Up Retro number 21, I used an N64 controller to play Star Wars the arcade game in my GameCube. The way I did that was I put this motion rumble pack in there. It actually adds motion capability to use it as a mid-air flight yoke. And then what I do is to attach the special plug-in connector for your N64 to that. And in that episode, I hooked it up to like 4 different adapters and we got it working. But in today's episode, our goal is to just attach it to one adapter. Another thing I did in that episode was I showed this Appfinity app drive device, which basically allowed you to put a cell phone in there and play games. But what I did in that episode was to remove a part of the frame. And in so doing, this enabled you to actually attach this going through the controller and use this as a flight yoke. So I'll be getting that all set up. All it takes is just getting this controller in there, which is going to take a little finagling, and then take a couple of hair ties. These are rubber elastic bands, I guess you could say, and get them attached in there. It has to go from here over to one side of the controller, and then from here it has to go to the other side of the controller. So once it's attached around the handles here, it really holds it down into position, so it's not going to be wiggling around in there. So it works pretty well as a nice little device to use as a flight yoke, and it's similar actually in size to this. So it kind of gets the same thing accomplished. Another thing I want to show you is the actual adapter that will connect my N64 controller directly to my GameCube, and this is just a single adapter that accomplishes that. So you're going to take this and plug that in here. By the way, this is called the Classic Linker N64, and then that plugs into your GameCube. This also has a PlayStation port. It also has a Wii Classic controller port. In this episode, I also want to mention to you that if you, again, go back to that episode of Wired Up Retro, which is number 21, I showed another controller. This is a PS2 or PlayStation 2 controller called the Tilt Sense controller. It's made by Cyclone. And basically, I used a wired one. And this, you just click one of the switches and it puts it into Tilt Sense mode, okay? So this can be used in the same way as the N64 as a flight yoke. And this particular controller also comes in a wireless version, which I have right here. And so fortunately, I found this on eBay. It has some side grips, a little bit different than the one with the wire. And it's just got its own little receiver. Okay, so our goal in today's episode will be to connect it to this as well and use that to play connected with the Appfinity app drive to the GameCube, and then you basically just use one adapter with no accessory with a tilt controller that's wireless. By the way, this is the only tilt controller that's wireless for the PlayStation 2, and I don't think they made wireless ones for the N64 or GameCube either. So anyway, this definitely has to be used with the adapter to be usable on the GameCube through this port. Okay. All right, so let me show you how I've got this into the Appfinity app drive. That stick's got to get through there without jamming. Okay, and if you just left it in like this, it'll work, but when you're messing with it, it might move around. So also, you don't want to press in on this button, so you make sure it's kind of up and away from that. And then you're going to take your elastic bands, and we're going to come in from this side. Gets in there pretty good. Okay, so we've got Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3 all plugged in, and we're going to switch it down to options. When you're on options, you're going to go to special features, and you're going to enter codes if you haven't done that already. I've already done it. So I've opened up the arcade, and in fact I entered 3 separate codes, one for Star Wars Arcade, one for Empire Strikes Back, one for Return of the Jedi. So to get this thing activated, you do need to make sure that this button isn't depressed. It should be not pressed in. Then you press the start and the L and R buttons at the same time, and this will light up. And then you can start using your motion controls to direct Darth Vader through his hangar. All right. And there's, let's see, this is the one we want, Star Wars arcade game. All right, here we go. Go over, let's do medium. Let's make it tough.
Press 5 and pull in. It's like that. I want you to see what you can do with it. R2 trying to create the power. Yahoo! You're on Twitter, kid.
Okay. Let's go play some Empire Strikes Back. All right, so we got our TiltSense wireless controller here. All right, so the Appfinity app drive wheel basically is going to have a hole drilled into it. I drilled it right here, okay? And what you need are 3 of these. Basically, what you have here are some hex nuts on a screw, and that's a 10 by 24 machine screw, round top, with a Phillips head. All right, so we're going to take this hex nut off, and we're leaving the one up here on it. Okay, and you're going to drive that through the hole. I made the hole just the right size so it screws in. Okay. Once you've got that going through the hole, I'm going to go down quite a ways. You're also going to want to, by the way, at the bottom of this will be what's known as a well nut. Okay, a well nut is a rubberized receiver of the screw, and it's got metal on the inside. Okay, you're going to take your hex nut and just place that in between. There we go. So it is between the well nut and this part of the plastic. Okay, and then you're going to put one through this gap in the Appfinity app drive. There's a gap right here as well, and I've got 2 more. So again, going to basically set it up just like this. So let me come back and I'll show you what that looks like. after I get the put in. All right, so I've installed this up top, and these two have now been put in the bottom. They're loose in there at the moment. Well nuts will be installed in a minute, but first let's get the controller on board. We're going to go in this way. Okay, and it's going to basically sit in there like this. With the thumbsticks, you should be able to move them freely. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring this down. And we'll also want to install these well nuts on the underside here. There we go. Got that one started. There we go. All right. Bring it in a little bit. Get this one in there installed as well. I'll come back after I got that in there. Okay, so here's our final result. We've got the well nuts with screws on this side. We have one up top coming through the hole, right in between the start and select buttons, and you have access to these switches below, which is nice. So you can click the tilt on and off. You can also turn the power on and off. These are free moving, which is going to be good for when you have the tilt off and you want to use them. Although it is a little challenging to get up above, but you're primarily going to be using this as a tilt controller. So there you go. It's basically a completed project. Let's go ahead and play some games. All right, so now we've got this all set up in tilt mode. You can direct Darth Vader all around. I'm going to go over here and press this button. On this, it's the circle button actually that's activating things, which is kind of good because that's right where your middle finger or index finger can be pressing. All right, so we're going to try, I think on Empire Strikes Back, by the way, this game is not one I'm real good at.
There's a meteorite hitting around near you.
All right, here we go. Now in this game, you can actually press R2 to do your laser shots. Here we go. Got these probe droids to take care of. Droid of some kind. There we go. It's supposed to stop those signals from going up to the Imperial base. Oh, look at that. All right, on to the AT-ATs. Gonna send this. There we go. Let's see if we can get these shot in the... Get over here. Hit it. Got him. Took him down. All right. All right. See if I got one more tow cable. Yeah. Here we go. All right. It's. Oh, I'm down to 2 shields. Ouch. I took a hit.
Oh, thank goodness we're coming out of the asteroid. The Borg is with you. He could destroy us. He will join us or die.
So you might wonder, okay, which one did you prefer? The N64 wired option or this wireless controller? Yeah, you know what? I kind of like the N64 it just seemed a hint better, but not by much. And you can see I'm getting really nice accuracy right now with, getting it right on there. So I don't know, maybe I'll just get used to this. All right, let's see if I can get those walkers again. Here we go. Took him down.
The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi. Start the evacuation. Won't beat them.
All right, took me out. So I'd like to show you the actual GameCube game, Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3 in action with the motion controls, one of the space scenes. So let's give that a shot. All right, so we're going to play a little of the actual game, Star Wars Rebel Strike Rogue Squadron 3. Take out some TIE fighters to wrap up the episode with the motion controller. Me and my trusty B-Wing. All right, here we go. Right. So if you've liked my episode, definitely give me a thumb up or a like. I do appreciate those. Comment below if you've tried this and had success. I definitely want to hear back from you in the comments, and I'll participate and look forward to hearing the response. Definitely had a lot of fun with this. Let's switch over to a different view here. There we go. The accuracy is real nice, I will say that. Let's see if we can find some more TIE fighters. Definitely check out my Patreon, and you can check the link in the description for more information on this.
We're under attack. We need your help.
Let's see here.
Rescue 1 here. Evacuation complete. We're preparing to make our escape run. Take out those ties for me. Copy that, road leader. Going after the ties. Road leader, this is Rescue 1. We're taking heavy damage. Rescue 1 here. Evacuation complete. We're preparing to make our escape run.
This is really nice having it completely wireless like this. And it's all done with just a mere one adapter. I will admit, this controller, the tilt sense, is not exactly an easy one to find. You can find the wired ones on eBay pretty easily. These will show up once in a while, but usually it's the wired ones that are there. So make sure if you're going to buy it, it does say wireless or cordless, okay? Now, if any of you follow what's going on with Arcade 1-Up, there's a YouTuber here, goes by the name Glenn Planamento, and he's got his YouTube channel, and his business is really solidly ensconced in getting new controllers made, like trackballs, joysticks, spinners, and now he's into a new project of doing a Star Wars Yoke. And that Yoke controller, from what I understand, is going to work on USB type platforms such as PCs, also the Arcade 1-Up. It'll be pluggable into that for really a genuine metal controller, just like the arcade of Star Wars arcade game. So I don't know if you've heard of this, but I'll leave a link in the description about that if you have interest. I definitely would say I'm interested in that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. It's going to be awesome. All right, so that's about all I got for you this episode. I'll look forward to getting back into the comments with you guys. It was great meeting with you once again. Look forward to seeing you in the very near future for a new episode. Take care.